Yeah, welcome dear students to the video lesson. Today we will discuss on the title, that is content analysis. This unit, this lesson is benefited for the MA Journalism and Mass Communication semester 4 students. In this lesson, I will explain you about the what is content analysis and uses of content analysis. There is a two types of content analysis, namely qualitative content analysis and quantitative content analysis, and steps which are involved in the content analysis. There is also advantages and disadvantages in the content analysis. One by one we will discuss in detail. Why content analysis? Content analysis is a specific research technique used frequently in all areas of the media, particularly in the print media, because there is a print in a content model, that is a print. So it is easy to access every researcher. The method is popular with mass media researchers because it is an efficient way to investigate the content of the media, such as the number of and the types of commercials, advertisements, and also portrayal of pictures, women, and social institutions or violence in broadcasting and other media. Content analysis is a systematic analysis and description of the content of communication media. Content analysis enables one to know the attitudes of the mass communication system towards a country, a state, a system, or an organization, an issue, whether national or international level. Content analysis is a technique of research for the systematic, objective, and quantitative and also qualitative description of content in the research to find out the data. We have n number of definitions for the content analysis by various research scholars, teachers. So among them we will discuss a few in this lesson. According to McClelland, what is content analysis? Content analysis is a interaction process analysis. It is a value analysis, whereas various types of values in a society is the basis of a classification. Content analysis is a symbolic analysis which analyzes the learnt latest meaning behind the manifest content and so on. Another research scholar and a professor, Bernard Berlanson, in the year 1952, he has defined content analysis as a research technique for the objective, systematic, and quantitative description of the manifest content of communication. In the 1952, there is only print medium. There is no electronic media, and also nowadays what we are using in the social media, all those are not available. So he is focused on the print media only. There is another definition by Hostley in the year 1968. He says that it is any technique for making inference by systematically and objectively identifying specified characteristics of messages. Messages means maybe it is a news item, maybe it is a commercial, means advertisement, maybe it is a image, whatever it is. Another research scholar, Walliser and Weiner, these are two who define the content analysis as any systematic procedure devised to examine the content of recorded information. Here recorded information means exactly the then only available medium, that is print media. Another definition by Krippendorf in the year 1980. He defines it is as a research technique for making replicable and valid information from data to their context. There are n number of definitions by the various scholars, already we have discussed. let us look about the uses of the content analysis. Many content analysis are really checks in which the portrayal of a certain group, phenomenon, attributes or characteristics is assessed against a standard taken from real life. The similarity of the media presentation and the actual situation is then discussed in the content analysis. For example, the National Commission which is in the US, the National Commission on the Causes and Prevention of Violence used content analysis data collected by Gerbner in the year 1969 to compare the world of television violence with the real life violence. Television is initially started in the year 1960s and 50s. Content analysis is also used in studying the agenda setting. Many studies are conducted to access changes in the media policy towards the minority groups, to make inference about the media's representativeness, to demand for better coverage and also to document social trends. Perhaps due to the fact that it can be applied to examine any piece of writing or occurrence of recorded communication. Maybe it is a audio lesson, audio medium or audio video medium also possible with the content analysis. Content analysis is currently used in different fields ranging from marketing and media studies to literature and public speaking, ethnography and cultural studies, gender and age issues, sociology and political science, psychology and cognitive science and many other fields. Already we have discussed there is two types of a content analysis. First one is qualitative, another one is quantitative. Now we will discuss about the detail in the content analysis. The main item, the main type is qualitative content analysis. Qualitative content analysis is a method for systematically describing the meaning of qualitative data. This is done by assigning successive parts of the material to the categories of coding frame. This frame is at the heart of the method and it contains all those aspects that feature in the description and interpretation of the material. Qualitative content analysis is often used to examine latest and inferred meanings of the communication under study, which may lead to the development of constructs or theories based on the researchers' knowledge and evidence drawn from the study. Ultimately, this systematic and thorough evaluation allows for conclusions to be drawn about such factors as the presence of absence of particular ideas, theories or blashes or extent coverage of specified topics, contradictions or myths, to name but a few applications. Here we need to know about the three features of characterize the methodology. Number one, qualitative content analysis reduce data. It is systematic and it is flexible. Unlike other qualitative methods for the data analysis, qualitative content analysis, this helps with reducing the amount of material. If it requires the researcher to focus on selected aspects of a meaning, namely those aspects that relate to the overall research question, There can be many such aspects, some coding frames which contain well over 100 categories and subcategories, but ultimately the number of aspects is limited by the number of categories of a research can handle. Also, when defining the categories, one will usually go behind the specific of any particular passage. The key feature of qualitative content analysis is that is a highly systematic. The method requires the examination of every single part of the material with the relevant to the research question. Another key feature in the content analysis is in the quality content analysis is especially by comparison with the quantitative version, it is flexibility. Qualitative content analysis typically combines varying portions of content driven and data driven categories within any coding frame. Now we will discuss about the quantitative content analysis. Quantitative content analysis involves drawing representation of a samples of content or training coders to use the category rules developed to measure or reflect differences in content, and also measuring the reliability, means agreement or stability over time of the coders in applying the rules. The data collected in a quantitative analysis are then usually analyzed to describe what are typical patterns or characteristics or to identify important relationships among the content qualities examined. If the categories and rules are conceptually and theoretically sound and are reliably applied, the researchers increases the chance that the study results will be valid. In quantitative content analysis, message elements can be counted to determine explicit themes, relative emphasis on various topics, amount of space or time devoted to certain topics, and numerous other dimensions. For example, here topics means in the print media we may choose either a sports or health or business or finance, whatever is. So, how much topics, how much news published in the particular page, maybe it is a first page or inside pages or last page, maybe it is in a color pages or a black and white pages. Various aspects we can research here in this quantitative analysis. Quantitative approach involves some form of counting and applies the scientific method rigorously. Qualitative content analysis follows a somewhat different procedure since no physical counting of data is involved. This is the difference between quantitative and qualitative. Here qualitative analysis again it tends to be more critical in nature and can be used when we need to study deeper to understand a message. Whereas in the quantitative there is only about the statistics, in the qualitative about the message, the understanding of the message, means behavior, how do we understand the message in the published newspaper. Quantitative content analysis proves more useful for examining manifest messages, while qualitative content analysis is preferred for analyzing latest messages. Quantitative means that the analysis should give precise and accurate results. Quantitative data are always either numerical value or frequencies. There is a steps in the content analysis. We will discuss all these steps one by one. Number 1, formulate the research question or hypothesis. Number 2, define the population in question. Number 3, select an appropriate sample from the population. Based on the population only we have to select the sample. Number 4, select and define a unit of analysis. Number 5, construct the categories of content to be analyzed. Number 6, establish a quantification system. Number 7, train coders and conduct a pilot study. Number 8, code the content according to established definitions. Number 9, analyze the collection of data. Number 10, the final point and final part in the research, that is draw conclusions and search for indications. Already we have discussed 10 steps. Among them, the number 1 is formulating a research question. What is research question? The goal of the analysis must be clearly articulated to avoid aimless exercise in the data collection that have a little utility for mass media research. Content analysis method should be guided by well formulated research questions or hypotheses. A basic review of the literature is required in this step. Another step is the sources of hypothesis. Hypotheses are the same as for other areas of media research. It is possible to generate a research question based on existing theory or prior research or practical problem or as a response to changing social conditions. Well defined research questions or hypotheses lead to the development of accurate and sensitive content categories, which in turn helps to the produce data that are more valuable. Here we need to know about the definition of universe. Defining the universe is to specify the boundaries of the study of that body of a content to be considered, which requires an appropriate operational definition of the relevant population. If researchers are interested in analysis the content of popular songs, they must define what is meant by a popular song, what time period will be considered, all these part in the universe. Top 10, maybe top 20, maybe top 50, in which language. These are the some intersections which are part in the universe. Whereas coming to the health news in the newspapers, so the time period, from which time to which date you are collecting the information, you are surveying, you are doing the content analysis period, where how many news you are going to selected for the research, maybe top 10 or top 20 or particular time period, maybe 1 month, maybe 2 months, maybe 1 year, whatever it is. 2 dimensions are usually used to determine the appropriate universe for a content analysis. Number 1, the topic area, and another one is the time period. The topic area should be logically consistent with the research question and related to the goals of the study. Finally, the time period to be examined should be sufficiently long so that the phenomena under study has enough time to occur. Another step is sampling procedure. Most content analysis in mass media involves multi-stage sampling. This process typically consists of 2 stages. The first stage is usually to take a sampling of content sources. For example, to study the news articles on environment, we may choose few newspapers which have larger circulation, or daily national dailies, maybe international dailies, whatever it is related to the your topic and your research point. Once the sources have been identified, the second step is to select the dates. In many studies, the time period from which the issues are to be selected is determined by the goal of the research. If the goal is to assess the nature of news coverage of the election campaign or environment campaigns, or the sampling period is fairly well defined by the actual duration of the campaign. Another step is selecting a unit of analysis. In this section, to select the unit of analysis, which is the smallest element of a content analysis, but also one of the most important. In written content, maybe in the print media, the unit of analysis might be a single word or a symbol, a theme, a single assertion about the one subject, or an entire article or story, whatever it is. In television or in a film analysis, units of analysis can be characters, acts, and entire program. These are the some examples for selection of unit. Constructing content categories in the content analysis is used to classify media content. The precise makeup of the system, of course, varies with the topic under study. To be serviceable, all category systems should be mutually exclusive and reliable. Quantification in content analysis can involve 4 of the levels of data measurement, although usually only nominal, interval, and ratio data are used. What is nominal? At a nominal level, researchers simply count the frequency of occurrence of the units in each category. At the interval level, it is possible to develop scales for coders to use to rate certain attributes of a character or a situation. For example, in a study dealing with the images of women in commercials, each character might be related by coders on several scales like this. For example, Likert scale, we take it, there is a 5-point scale, 4-point scale, 3-point scale. For example, 3-point scale, yes, neutral or no. For example, 2-point scale, yes or no, true or false. Maybe 5-point scale, very important, important, not sure, not important, and very much not important. All these are some scales we have, we call it is a Likert scales. At the ratio level, measurement in a media research are generally applied to space and time. In the print media, column inch, generally nowadays we are using centimeter, square centimeter in many newspapers. Column inch measurements are used to analyze editorials, advertisements, and stories about the particular events or phenomena. Television and radio ratio level measurement are made concern time, the number of commercial minutes, the types of programs on the air. All these are some examples for television and radio. Next, what we have to do? Pilot study. Pilot study is done to check intercoder reliability. The pilot study should be conducted with a fresh set of coders who are given some initial training to impart familiarity with the instructions and the methods of the study. The researcher can then examine the degree of agreement and disagreement and make interpretation as to how the content is likely to be interpreted by the audience. Coding the content, standardized sheets are usually used to ease the coding. These sheets allow coder to classify the data by placing check marks or slashes in the predetermined spaces. If data are to be tabulated by hand, the coding sheets should be constructed to allow for rapid tabulations. Another step is analyzing the data. The descriptive statistics such as percentages, means, modes and medians are appropriate for content analysis. If hypothesis tests are planned, then common inferential statistics are acceptable. The chi-square test is the most commonly used because the content analysis data tend to be nominal in form. However, if the data meet the requirements of interval level or ratio levels, then a t-test is also acceptable. ANOVA test is also maybe appreciated. We can use these many types of statistical tools for content analysis. Now the step is interpretation the results. If an investigator is testing specific hypothesis, that is concerning the relationship between the variables, and the interpretation will be evident. If the study is descriptive, however, questions may arise about the meaning or importance of the results. Readability is another point here we need to know. The concept of readability is crucial to content analysis. If a content analysis is to be objective, its measure and procedure must be reliable. A study is reliable when repeated measurement of the same materials results in similar discussions or conclusions. Intercoder reliability. This refers to levels of agreement among independent coders who code the same content using the same coding instrument. Every methodology, maybe either content analysis, whatever it is, there is a advantages and disadvantages. Let us look about the advantages in the content analysis. Content analysis looks directly at a communication via text or transcripts, and hence it gets at the central aspect of a social interaction. Content analysis can allow for both quantitative and qualitative operations. Content analysis can provide valuable historical, cultural insights over time through analysis of text. Content analysis allows a closeness to text which can alternate between specific categories and relationships, and also statistically analyze the coded form of the text expert systems. Since knowledge and rules can both be coded in the terms of explicit statements about the relationship among the concepts. There is a disadvantages in the content analysis. Among them, the important one is content analysis alone cannot serve as a basis for making statements about the effect of content on an audience. The findings of a particular content analysis are limited to the framework of the categories and the definitions used in that analysis. Content analysis lack of messages relevant to the research. So far we have learnt about the content definitions of the content analysis, types of the content analysis, various steps involved in the content analysis, advantages and disadvantages in the content analysis. Thank you very much, dear learners, for watching this video lesson.